there were times where I wondered whether or not this was the church that I need to be in.
Yeah.
How do I raise a family in this? How do I really feel about a place that says they're God's true church, but only a certain amount of people even get that full equality or that full feeling of love?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Saints Unscripted. We're back with our friends from Brothers in the Foyer, but today I am with Mo and with Crispin today. We're going to have an awesome discussion. But before we get into that, would you guys be willing to just introduce yourselves to the audience?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Maurice. I also go by Mo. I have been here in Provo, Utah for like 10 years now. Married for about 10 years. Coincidence, I think. I have 2 kids. Recently had a baby girl.
Congrats,
she was
dude.
5 months. Yeah, she's a lot of fun. Sleeping through the night, so I'm like a new man.
Yes.
But yeah, originally I'm from Las Vegas. Came up here for school and sports, BYU.
Nice.
Kind of fit that ideal
Go Cougars,
person. But yeah, been here for a while and happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, my name is Crispin. I go by Crispin. I'm originally from Dallas, Texas.
Hey, let's go.
yeah.
I am too. That's cool.
Hey, there you go.
Nice.
What part?
Do you know McKinney?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
I grew up on East Dallas, basically. So Garland, Plano.
Oh, I got you.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what's up. Small world. All right. There you go. Little Texan. Cowboys all day, every day.
Connections.
But yeah, so I'm originally from Dallas, Texas.
I saw that.
Originally from Dallas, Texas. My wife is from Alabama. Been married to my wife. Her name is Kay. Been married to her for 15 years this year. We're going to celebrate our 15th anniversary in August on the 1st. We have 5 kids. Don't know what we were thinking.
Nice.
I mean, I love them all dearly.
Typical member of the church, right?
But they range from 11 to 2 years old. And my 2-year-old still likes to hop into bed with us sometime during the night. So I don't know what a full night's sleep is.
Not quite there yet, huh?
Still
We'll get there.
waiting anxiously. But no, my wife and I, my wife played basketball at BYU. So she is a Cougar. I played basketball at Salt Lake Community College up in Salt Lake.
Slick. Nice.
And we met just kind of working some basketball camps and things. But I went to college after Salt Lake up in Idaho. So that pulled us away from Utah for a little bit. And then we moved back to Alabama, where my wife is from, to be around family as we were raising our kids and things. But we moved back to Utah because a lot of our friends from college are still here. We all have kids the same age and things. And I wanted to kind of reconnect. And my family moved out here. So we moved back in 2020 in January, where we were welcomed with a blizzard, the earthquake, and COVID.
Whew.
So needless to say, we were wondering if we had made the right decision in moving back. But no, we've been back since 2020 and we love it. We live in South Jordan up in Salt Lake County. And just been living out here, coaching basketball with American Heritage School.
Nice.
As well as I'm a singer also. So I sing gospel and R&B music with my brother and my mother and my aunts. As a family, we all sing, but as a soloist, I sing as well. Do acting, done some plays and some other things like that, and voice acting, audiobooks. So that's what I do. I'm a performing artist.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
I am in marketing. I
Also
promote.
super cool.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Also
It's
cool.
so awesome.
I promote people. That's what I do.
I'm with it. Shoot. Yeah. We need to talk after.
It's great to get to know a little bit about you guys. So if it's okay, let's just hop into this discussion.
All right.
Let's do it.
So kind of a topic we're thinking for today is, how have you guys reconciled with negative experiences that you've had in the church?
Well, it's for me, I'll speak for myself,
Mhm.
as far as I've had my share of negative experiences in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And most of those have been based off of race.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I come from Dallas, Texas, but even though I come from a place where there's a lot of diversity,
Mhm.
a lot of black people, a lot of brown people, a lot of white people, a lot of everything, especially in Dallas,
I
being
know.
from
No,
the
I got you.
Metroplex, there's
got
a little
you,
bit of
yeah.
everything. So it's not necessarily that, but more so in the church in and of itself, there's not many black members that are from America. There's not many
Mm.
Black American
Okay, yeah.
members in a concentrated space. If you look at us in a total, maybe there's a larger number, but there's just not a lot of us in a concentrated area. And in my stake, for a long time growing up, we were the only Black family.
Wow.
And it was my mom and my brothers. My mom raised us as a single parent. So not only did we stick out like a sore thumb, being chocolate in the middle of all this vanilla, but what also made us a little different, like we were talking about before with the families, is my mom was a single mom. There was no dad in sight. So she's got these boys here. She's a single mom, and there were eyebrows raised and some questions asked and things. And we were too young when my mom was baptized to know what that was.
Yeah.
But as we got a little older, we started to hear some comments that were made about us. There were definitely some situations where in youth, we had leaders who had children that were a part of our youth group with the young men, but they also had daughters who were with the young women. And we got along all together.
Yeah.
I'm actually part of a youth group in my ward back home that we're all still close now, to be honest with you.
That's
like,
awesome.
We're all in touch.
Still tight, yeah.
All the boys and girls that were together through our little generation, we all stayed in touch. So we're all really good friends, and we were then. But, you know, as you get a little older in young men, there's some crushes here. There's some church dances here. We go to some of the same schools. And it just became really apparent that for me and my brothers, if we wanted to go on dates to our school dances or to our church dances, we couldn't ask the young ladies in our actual ward. It was communicated to us as fathers of these young ladies that if we were to ask, the answer was no. So that was a little alarming as a young man to kind of just realize, but I thought we were cool. Like,
yeah,
we give hugs and things like every Sunday at church, you know, you're my young men's leader and you've taught me this and that. But to find out that that's where that bar was a little alarming as far as how close we could get to the family. So there was some of that, but the reconciliation when it comes to have I been able to reconcile some of those negative experiences, the reconciliation still hasn't happened.
Okay.
Because to reconcile with someone, both parties at some point have to realize that something negative happened.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when you're talking with somebody who's unapologetic about how they view life and what they want, you know, around their space, you can't really reconcile that.
Yeah.
So for me, there hasn't been much reconcile when it comes to the negative experiences that I've received from members in the church. But there has been reconciliation when it comes to Black people in the church, at least in my space.
Okay.
And I'm speaking on behalf of like my wife, her family, some of my extended family who are members as well, and friends that we now have. It's been more than validating recently with President Nelson, who is the current president and prophet of the church, openly speaking about negative things that have happened in church history. Because for the longest time, they just weren't spoken about.
Okay.
It's not that it was denied. It was just never addressed. So as a Black person looking at the history of the church, I'm like, problem, question, problem, but none of it ever.
It was never brought up.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's
never
gotta be
acknowledged.
frustrating.
Absolutely. So there were times where I wondered whether or not this was the church that I need to be in.
Yeah.
How do I raise a family in this? How do I really feel about a place that says they're God's true church, but only a certain amount of people even get that full equality or that full feeling of love? So to have the prophet of all people, and now so many of the apostles, so many of the church leaders speaking about the validity of these negative things that happen in the church, but also preaching to the masses about how these things are wrong and how to be a disciple of Christ, you need to get this out of your life or out of your heart, is extremely validating.
Yeah.
Because I have a firm testimony of the gospel. I know that I'm Heavenly Father's. I know my wife is his daughter. I know my kids are his, and it's my responsibility to try to raise them with him involved. So to now have that, seconded by the prophet of the Lord, words can't really describe it. It was a breath of fresh air, to say the least, to hear what I knew to be true and was just hoping somebody would say, finally said. And now you can't deny it. Now these people that say one thing about us can't really say those things anymore. Now the exclusion that happened around us can't happen anymore if they truly call themselves. So that reconciliation for me has now and is currently happening.
Okay.
With a lot that's being spoken about by our leaders.
Wow.
On that point, it has been very refreshing to hear leaders of the church talk about how you can't be in line with the church if you have ill feelings towards other people based on something outside of their character.
Absolutely.
Right. Something that they can't control. I know for me, like, that has been amazing. You know, I know for other people in my family who aren't members, they find that refreshing as well, because it's like the prophet and leaders of the church saying like, hey, we know that we need to step up, and members of the church or everyone in the church can do better, you know. And luckily we believe in the atonement, and we all believe that we can get better. And so it's nice to see that the church as an organization, as the body of Christ, can become better, you know. And so for me, I really loved seeing that from the leaders of the church and other people in the church and outside. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as you guys are talking about this, I just think it's important just that we recognize that we are imperfect people, make up the church, all of us. And that the beauty of repentance is manifested in the change that we make, right? So I think that as we change, even as we like culture within the church changes, I think that shows how we are trying to be committed to Christ, in that we're trying to become better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And like for me personally, I'm also on this I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
Okay.
Where like in terms of having people in the church do things that I need to be reconciled with me.
Yeah.
And like I did grow up in a single mother household where it was just my mom. My dad was part of the picture. Like they had custody stuff that was going on.
Okay, yeah.
Which not fun, first off. But a lot of the things that happened to me, my mom was able to guard us from, because, you know, with single women in church, there's sometimes a negative stigma there.
Absolutely.
Raising family. And so luckily for me, and I'm so grateful to my mom, she took the brunt of some of the things that happened there. But we also had a pretty diverse ward in Vegas, where I'm from originally. So we had enough people around who took some of that brunt if they had that. But I didn't necessarily get a lot of that.
Okay.
And maybe I was too young to recognize. But I am mixed. My mother's white, my father's black. And so I kind of also have an interesting perspective around this too, where for me, trying to fit in two different buckets, right? The people around me who are white and the people around me who are black. And we're like trying to reconcile with people outside of the church where maybe I wasn't black enough because I'm trying to fit in there.
Okay.
And, you know, you see a lot of people who aren't LDS who are black, right?
Yeah.
And people telling me like, oh, bro, you're not a real black person if you're part of that church, you know? And so I had weird things happen to me in that aspect where, you know, I also had some people like, oh, you're black, you know, are you sure you want to hang out with us and you're LDS?
Absolutely.
You know? But for me personally, there's a talk that has really resonated with me and actually came out in high school. It was by Elder Bednar around choosing whether or not to be offended.
Okay.
And that honestly, for me, that's been huge.
Yeah.
Because there are things that could have happened to me that honestly I could have left the church for.
Yeah.
But, you know, but like for me, like a lot of times, like I try to understand where people are at, where they're coming from. Right. Because I do have an interesting perspective where, you know, I am white and I am black. I'm biracial. Right. So not that other people can't, but I think I have an interesting view into what people mean, and like try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Not every time, because sometimes people do things that are wrong, but I try to see where people are coming from. And if they're coming from a bad place, like I'm the type of person to call you out. Like I'm not just going to let not that Absolutely. You did by any means, you know? But like,
no, you're good.
I'm not going to let people do things to me, treat me differently. I'm going to call you out. Like I had a, funny enough, I had somebody at BYU tell me I probably shouldn't go into a certain field of business because I didn't have the best grade. I had good grades, but I didn't have the right grades from a certain class. But someone else who had the same like GPA as me, who was white, he was like, oh, I'll help you out here. Let's do this and this and this. And so I went to him and said, like, what the heck? You know? And luckily, you know, I was able to get him to apologize and kind of reconcile with him. But for the most part, like, again, there's some things I choose not to be offended at by and not let that affect my faith because this is the one true church for me.
Yeah.
You know, God doesn't change. He's going to call prophets. He's going to continue to do the things he did in the Bible and the scriptures and the Book of Mormon. Miracles are going to happen. And so for me, I know that no one can rock my faith or shake my faith, I should say.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love that. That's an awesome principle. Love that where that comes from. Just like exercising our agency, right? Choosing not to be offended. I think that's so powerful.
But I definitely think people should get better for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That doesn't excuse
Absolutely.
for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But I love like just taking it back into our control, right? And not letting other people dictate our faith.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback off of what he was saying, it's been a part of my testimony because so many people have asked when I talk about my life story, and they're like, with all those things happening, why in the world would you still be here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would I not? And I get the confused looks back because if it's so bad, like you say it is, why keep coming? Well, my mother taught me what it was like to understand and hear God. I learned as a young boy watching her pray and watching her involve principles of the gospel in her life to make life as good as she could for us. And I know I'm sitting and the cameras don't show it, but I'm 6'8", 340 pounds. And it was nothing but boys in the house and we're all similar sized. So we had to get fed. You know, my mom was the only one there. We had to get to and from practices. My mom's the only one there. We had to have, you know, I wear a size 17 shoe. Clothes had to be fit, bought for us. Things had to be done for us. And
small. I'm 6'4".
He's a 6'4" football player from BYU.
I look little.
No, but I mean, like just watching my mom having to make all these things happen and seeing that there's no way some of this should have added up without miracles in our life. I knew early on what it was like to go to God with real intent and to listen for his answer. And when you felt it, nothing shakes you from it. When you know something's right, you just know something's right. No matter what creed, color, place you're from, when something strikes you and you're like, that's what I need to do, however it's confirmed to you, nothing really pulls you from that. So sure, I had all these negative situations happen around me just like he did, but it doesn't shake my faith because I got my faith from God. I got my direction from God. So you and what you do aren't going to deter me from getting to my goal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's just kind of how we grow up, like I know what I want to do and I know where I need to be. You're not going to stop me from it.
Absolutely. I love how you guys are both so deeply rooted in your relationship with Christ, right? That nothing else is going to deter you from that, regardless of what people say. And I think that's just an example that all of us need to be following, regardless of our situation or our race.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for this discussion. It's been awesome. I feel like I've learned a lot. So if you want to continue this discussion, please feel free to let us know and leave your thoughts down in the comments. And be sure to check these guys out on their YouTube channel and on their podcast. It's Brothers in the Foyer. So thanks again.
With the Z.
Brothers with the Z. Please remember that. Brothers with the Z in the foyer for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again, guys.
Thanks.